Welcome to your weekly long form channel. Let's see what Spirit wants to provide for our highest and best good for this week. Asking someone to step forward and provide a nice collective, lovely collective weekly reading. We have an angel here stepping forward, showing me like a crown. So I think this is an archangel. I don't really get names, but I can sort of sense and get sort of the energy. So this is a very healing message. And it's to people who are primarily dealing with chronic stresses in their life, chronic health problems, things of that nature. And the angel is sort of comparing that chronic illness, that chronic sense of discomfort and imbalance in the body, and comparing it to seasons on the earth and the fluctuations on the earth and the weather patterns on the earth. And the angel's sort of making this point of like, you know, when we have chronic ailments and when we have chronic injuries, we usually personalize that really quickly. We're the first to sort of jump to admonishment of ourselves and our routine, and it's my fault that this is happening, and maybe I should tweak my diet. Like, we always personalize it. The angel is showing the weather patterns and saying, like, that's sort of like personalizing when it rains outside or when it snows outside. Like, how silly. Why would you take it personally if it snowed or if it rained? And if you do take something like that personally, he's just making a joke like this is even going to be more difficult, right? Because it's like the weather patterns, like taken as it stands, are not personal events. It's just something that happens. So too, the physical sensations in the body aren't personal. They have to do with the energy that is flowing through the body and what is being brought into the body and what the body is responding to. Sort of making the comparison that it is as impersonal as the weather. That's a very interesting statement, and I think one that helps many people dealing with chronic ailments to connect to the sensation that it's not your fault that you're handling and dealing with this. It is impersonal as like a summer storm or hail or rain. There's so much in the popular discourse among psychics where, oh, well, you created that imbalance and you brought this into you brought this in, and anything that feels like blame, anything that feels like admonishment is not from you, right? And so this message from this angel is just this comforting reading of like, treat it like a hailstorm, treat it like a snowstorm. Like, what do you do when there's a snowstorm? You shovel. Maybe you get some salt out and like put some salt down. Maybe you check on your neighbor. So like the things that you do when you feel the sensations in the body, you likely are going to respond in the same way. Okay, I have this like pounding migraine headache. Well, I'm going to lay down, or I'm going to take my medication, or and then the angel's like, and then get on with it. Like almost sort of like the one thing that they are bringing up is like the more and more you focus on the snowstorm or the impossibility, like the more you do draw that sensation to you. So it's almost like handle what you need to handle, what's in your control to handle. You're not going to shovel outside in the snow, cursing the snow as it's coming down. No, that's not going to help any. What will help any is shoveling, right? So it's like focusing on things like that, again, that old adage, focusing on the things that you can control when you're feeling these imbalances in the body, and giving little to no attention on how it's personal to you, how you brought it into your, how you brought it into your experience, how you manifested it. He's very much dissuading that type of thinking. He's like, you can benefit the most from depersonalizing it and handling it and moving on. Like, they're bringing up an adage. My family has a saying, if you act like everything's fine, everything's fine. It's sort of like he's sort of saying there's such power in that type of thinking because you're positioning yourself, your headlight on where you want to go. So now he's showing me a car, and the car is driving in a really foggy area. Ooh, chill. And he's showing the headlights of the car cut through the fog. And they're like, so too, when your attention is on to what you want, it is like two headlights coming through the fog directly at something that you want. And with those headlights, you are able to navigate. That was a hugely powerful message. Thank you for that. So thank you for bringing us these beautiful message and these themes of depersonalizing health and what's going on in the body, and really making sure that we're not admonishing ourselves for anything that we're experiencing, but we treat it as impersonally as the weather. What else are we, collectively can be of use here? Like, what other messages? So I'm seeing the presidential transition coming up next week, and I'm just feeling, they're showing sort of a picture of the anxiety and excitement that people are feeling about this change. He's showing me a clock. It's sort of like it's now time, and the time can mean, I think it's a metaphor. It's definitely a metaphor about like the shift, but I think it's pointing more towards like, it's time, like things are going to start happening very quickly. And once again, they're urging a depersonalization of this. It's almost like the things and the events that are going to happen feel very fated. And it feels like this is going to be like the thing. It makes me feel like the things that we're getting riled up about, in the grand scheme, once we know of all the big changes coming, will seem very small. So it's just question of perspective. So they're showing me a little beetle in the grass. And to the beetle in the grass, if we can just like for a second orient what it feels like to be in that situation, like your whole world is this, everything probably looks very big. Who knows if they can even sense or see like this world outside of them. It's sort of like, oh, light years away. It's so far from me. Like why think about it? Why talk about it? And their world is sort of like the microcosm world that they live in. The perspective is just so different than ours, right? So the angel's sort of saying, like, understand you are the beetle in this situation. And you are the beetle that is going to have a sense of perspective. It's almost like you've been picked up out of the grass and you're going to sense a few things. One, that how very small you are, right? And how vulnerable you are, right? And the second thing you're going to understand is the power of your perspective, the power of knowing that you are so small and insignificant is going to give you power, because you're going to realize like, oh, I'm just a beetle. I don't need to worry about the things that I've been worrying about. I don't need to like channel all this weird energy. You know what I mean? You're just going to accept and own the fact that you are this little beetle in this grass, and so many things are so much bigger than you and can smudge you out the way that we smudge out like a gnat, which like, I'm not saying I'm not guilty of this, but like, you know how like thoughtlessly we can just kill a bug, how thoughtlessly we do that. And what that means for that bug, 1 minute to be in existence and the next, what's happened, right? So it's sort of like you will feel like that bug, but he's bringing it to me in a way that it's like it's a benefit to knowing how small you are in the grand scheme of things, and how weak and defenseless you are in the grand scheme of things, because it allows you to place your faith in something else, something internal, something that's part of you, something that will give you true sense of confidence and a true sense of protection and foundation, and not one that's like made up of your own grandeur, right? He's like, it's just as ironic of, he's sort of poking fun of everyone making a big deal out of like this person or that person being a king or queen or in charge or a president or a prime minister. And the angel goes, that's like a roach saying he's the king of roaches. You're still a roach, right? But it's done in a lighthearted way. It's a fun way. It's not like a king of roaches. It's like, what's the point? Like, you're still a roach, right? Your understanding is so small compared to what you're dealing with. That's really cool. What else for this week, for this lovely, chilly, cold, exciting week that we're all here incarnated for this very moment in time? The angel's showing me with earth on his finger, and he's sort of spinning the earth, sort of showing in like this sense of fun, the sense of like frivolity, of enjoyment, of amusement. Like, here's this earth, let's play basketball with it. Sort of this feeling and this vibe of playfulness. And it's a feeling that many people who have been through some significant traumas understand, that entering into the world with this childlike sense of amusement allows one to fully come into the moment and to release some of the baggage that you've been carrying and the things that you've been worried about, the things that you've been stressed about. So it's just, the angel's just really encouraging amusement here. It's encouraging, like, be amused, be curious, don't take it all so seriously. Like, what if this earth were a basketball? and this basketball was here for us to play a game? What if that's all this is? Like, is it okay then? Can you relax then? Can we do some stretches then? Do we want to like goof around with our friends over here? Like, think of all the ways we can use this game to our advantage, and we can have fun with it, and we can find satisfaction in it. Anything else for the good of the order for this weekly long reading? So the Capricorn sign is coming up. It's almost like there's a bit of a thanks and appreciation for Pluto being in Capricorn for so long. And it's almost like the energy behind all Capricorns, this energy is sort of like handing the torch off to the Aquarians and really reveling in enjoyment, Capricorn, really enjoying the transition of being out of Pluto. It's almost like the sign itself, the entity behind the sign, is sort of reveling in that. Like, now it's your turn, you know what I mean? Because it's like the energies of these signs are very, very real. And it's fun to sort of see, feels like a bit of a baton handoff between the Cap to the Aquarian. But there's so much to be grateful for with this Capricorn energy. I just see like a giant staircase to heaven. Like, this is the Capricorn's goal, is to bring the worlds together. It's the sea goat. So people forget sea and goat. It's earth and water, right? This merging of the two together. It's not one or the other. So it's sort of showing this like boundless, endless climb that Capricorns embark in. Ultimately, it's to get to heaven. It's to sort of get to this place where they're connecting with that thing and develop, depending on how you're managing those Capricorn energies, it can look a variety of different ways. But it feels like just an acknowledgement of the Capricorn energy in your life and the contributions of Capricorn as we start to turn a page, as we move here into the latter part of January into Aquarius season, a little bit later into January, sort of like this preparation for handing off the baton and the necessary work and the necessary types of things. If you think of Capricorn energy, it happens in the dead of winter. Winter is a time of withdrawal. It's just a withdrawal. It's just like the moment of time when things are pulled back and it's introspective and it's all about what could happen. But yeah, definitely feeling like an acknowledgement of an appreciation for all the Caps that do the work that they do. And just like a nice love letter from all the entities and all the spirits that are really have been, feels like a celebration of that Cap energy. And as that comes to a close, there's just this acknowledgement and recognition of that. So there you go. I think this is an awesome weekly hearing. I just want to thank the angel that stepped forward, bringing us the message of depersonalizing some things that happen to us as just like the weather. Like, why get caught up in it? It's just the weather. It just happens, right? Understanding and finding our perspective and power in perspective, and understanding how small and insignificant we might be in the broader thing of things. Finding amusement. The sun, Earth is a basketball. Finding your amusement. If this were a game, how would you play it? If you knew it was a game going in, how would you play the game? Finally, this lovely recognition of the sign of Capricorn and the building that all the Capricorns have done and the pressure that they've been subjected to on behalf of humanity. And it's a great message. And if you can't be good, be careful.